Hey everybody, welcome to the Open Play Podcast. I'm your host Mason, here with my co-host Michael.
Hello.
Alex.
How's it going, guys?
And young upstart Preston.
Hello.
Today we're going to talk about our hobby. What have we done hobby-wise so far? How's Preston's liking his new Croup box and his new Tau Codex now that it's in his hands? How the 10th Ed meta is going so far? And what we should expect with the balanced data slate. And we might just get into talking about the new rumors for Age of Sigmar 4th edition. But Michael, you been doing any hobbying lately?
I just feel my soul leave my body with that sigh. So no, sadly, unless you count getting my 3D printer replaced and then getting the second printer I have replaced. Both have shipped. I'm waiting for them both to arrive. So yeah, other than that, I need to clean the hobby space. I need to continue painting the army for the tournament. 3 months has quickly turned into like 4 weeks, so I need to get on that shit. And that's it for my end. How about you, Alex?
Oh, just same old stuff, working on the Seraphon. The only thing I have left to assemble for them is some Saurus Warriors. That'll put me right at about 1,500 points, so hoping to pick up some boxes to fill up that last 500 to get a 2K army set up and ready to go. But currently, just putting together what I got. What about you, Preston? What have you gotten done on the hobbying side of things?
I finished my Triumph this week, and now I'm pivoting from Sisters back to Tau. I got my Riptide built and primed today. Gonna get that painted this week. I also need to get that Trail Shaper built and painted this week, because next weekend, there's a gracious small event near us that's allowing us to use the Codex with the book and the current points combined, so I need them both done for that.
Are you guys just using the points for the new units and the MFM for the old units? Or how does that break it down?
Yeah, if it has points right now, we use those points, and if it doesn't, we use the book points.
Well, I have fortunately fallen into the same pitfall that Michael has, where I am now speed painting my World Eaters. I'm still a little up in the air. I might play the Ultramarines Vanguard, in which case, fortunately, I only have to paint 6 models, which would just be 3 Eradicators, 3 Inceptors, but I'd like to play my World Eaters more. I think they're more of an interesting army, and honestly, like, the Ultramarines Vanguard having to sweat for 5 turns in a row is going to be a lot to do 6 rounds when I haven't played it in about a month. But either way, I think I'm going to have a good time at this GT. I'm excited for it for sure. And fortunately, I know someone who's got a sexy new 3D printer to help print me some base toppers, so I don't have to face these guys.
When it arrives.
Oh, it's going to get here tomorrow. I can feel it in my bones.
It's in Maryland, so it's going to be here tomorrow, probably Tuesday, if I had to guess, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then I have to dial it in and, see how that goes. But yes, possibly I could print you some base toppers.
Good. Everything's coming up, Karn. So, Preston, you said you got to build that Trail Shaper. Have you put together any other things in the Croup box yet, or just...
No, I picked it up yesterday, and I was at an event, so I didn't really have time to do much with it. And then, like I said, today I was working on my Riptide and other things that were not Warhammer related, which is a little surprising. But yeah, I'll start with the Croup Shaper. Probably go to the Rampagers next, just because I think the Rampagers are cool. I don't think they're that usable, but they're cool. No idea when I'll get around to the Carnivores, honestly. I already have like 22, and I don't see myself needing 40 anytime soon. I just hate putting together the small gribbly models, I'm gonna be really honest, so I don't know when I'll get around to those.
Yeah, you got to get the pressure exactly right, because you press too hard and things start popping. But that comes with the special edition Tau Codex. As special edition as Codex is getting 10th edition, but the art I've seen of it, like it's a nice looking box, even if it is reused art, right?
Yeah, so the box is the box, it is what it is. And then inside there's there's the sprues, there's the bases, and then there's the book physical codex. It has a nice, it's not really a dust jacket, but it's sort of a cover or a case for the book to keep it protected. And then there's also there's a new set of data cards as well, like they released for the indexes. And they've got some shiny blue holographic highlights, I guess, on both the codex and the data cards, which is pretty to look at.
Michael, did the Dark Angels box come with data cards?
I'm pretty sure it did. I only pulled the codex out to verify it wasn't the French one, but I'm pretty sure the Dark Angel box comes with data cards as well. All the army box they've released so far with the codexes have come with the cards.
Oh, I actually did not know they were doing that. That means that it might be worth it to buy the Space Marines or the Votan one when it comes out. Not that I would ever use the data cards. I don't think it's worth it buying them now, so I probably wouldn't use them very much, but it's nice to have them occasionally.
I have the ones that came with the box, and then I have the ones I originally bought before they released it, so if you need Dark Angel cards, I have an extra set.
My Warhammer dream is to have my Commander Farsight data card signed by Richard Siegler. Florida. That's like my long shot pipe dream of what I want to achieve in my life.
Could probably make that happen. I wouldn't think that'd be too hard of a thing to make happen.
They've sort of scaled back their event traveling from what I've seen ever since their like content creation started getting big, but we'll see what happens.
That's when the mail's there. You mail them the card. Find their socials, hit them up, do it. We'll make it happen.
Yes, if you find his social security number, you could threaten him into signing it.
Not quite where I was going with that, but that's a possibility.
No, they might be at Nova, or some of them might be. I don't know if Richard specifically will be or not, because it's pretty close to Florida. So if you're going to that, you might be able to see him there. I'm not really sure.
Last year, Nick was there because he was commentating, but I don't think any of the rest of the main guys were. There were some of the smaller guys who aren't part of the content creation, but are part of Art of War. I say smaller in quotations, being that they're still better than every one of us.
Well, right, yeah. It's like you're the sixth man at the best team in the NBA. Like, you're still way better than anyone you're going to play a pickup game with, you know what I mean? I know some things about sports, guys. I don't know if you knew that about me. Not a lot, but I know that. But, Michael, are you sharing the meta dashboard?
Yes.
So this data is
as of the 26th.
Wow, shockingly, Necrons obviously are at the top because having 250 point bodies that have a 4-up invul and a 5-up field no pain that half damage are pretty good, I hear.
Yeah, especially when you're on multiple.
Oh, yeah.
And then AdMech is AdMech. Sorry, AdMech.
You know what I was looking at for Necrons? There was a Necron list that had been submitted yesterday, and they ended up changing, but they had Illuminator Xeris in there, and I was like, alright, I know Illuminator Xeris is good. I know he's got a good aura, but I hadn't really, taken a deep look at his card. The man is T8, 9 wounds with a 4-up feel no pain and a 2-up 4-up, and he's 170 points. I would pay 170 points just for the body.
Yeah, he's gross. Because in the Hyper or whatever, he can just... I don't remember if he has Deep Strike on his card or not, so you might have to come via Strat Reserve, but it's a 60 mil base or an 80 mil base, whatever, that could just drop in your opponent's backfield, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's really hard to screen out a single base, even if it's a bigger base like that. And he's tough. You have to commit something to kill him. You can't just shoot him with 5 regular interceptors you had in your backfield. 160 points.
For Xeris, oh my goodness, I was being optimistic. And then on top of that, his aura is good. It's an aura which is rare. +1 AP, -1 AP is just good, just generically. And then his damage is randomly good too. He's 933 in shooting and melee. It's just bizarre to me.
Yeah, I really regret not picking up those Illuminator Xeris, who is new in box in the used section. It was $30. I should have picked one up. Even though I don't play Necrons, it's nice to just have the character added to my collection in case I ever decide to play Necrons. But yeah, he is really good. And it's crazy that some Necron army lists aren't even considering playing him. They're yeah, he's good, but I don't need him. That's how good Necrons are right now.
Yeah, that's a gross stat block.
Does he move 8 too? Is that right? Am I reading that right?
Yeah, 8 inches.
With infantry.
So just give him everything. Let's give this man all he has.
36-inch range for the lance. Extra attacks with the impaling leg, so it's 8 attacks total. Yeah, it's really not bad for 160 points. Jesus.
OC3, just cause. He can out-OC a transport.
Yeah, overall, I just feel as though Necrons have a lot of tools, and the only reason I think they're not getting more event wins is I think that if your opponent knows what they're doing, they can crumple your army pretty well. But I think that going X1 with Necrons is a very achievable dream. If you're an above average player.
One downside of being the de facto army to beat is that everybody starts tailoring to beat you.
Yeah, I feel as though if you're building a list and you're considering taking to a GT that you want to win, you have to consider what do I do when there's a block of 6 wraiths on an objective? How do I have an answer for that?
If you can't kill, or you can't deal with, I should say, not kill. If you can't deal with 2 Catan and you can't deal with a block of wraiths, then your list is just fundamentally flawed and you go back and rewrite it.
And the number 2 is Adeptus Custodes. If you don't have a plan to deal with 6 wardens on an objective.
Look at the number of games played, over 2,000.
Yeah. I mean, Custodes is such an easy army to put on the field, too. You spray them gold, Agrax Earthshade, and dry brush them gold, and there you have a painted army.
30 regular dudes, 4 characters, and then the only model I think that has any sort of difficulty getting a hold of might be Kyria Draxus, but I don't really look at the Inquisitors, so...
Yeah, I don't think you have to run them, but they're just really good. You do have to run Trajan, though. I think it's the law.
And at least one blade champ, preferably 2 or 3.
Yes.
And then you have your 2 armies there at the top, 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, I don't think the Tau data is real. 53 is way higher than I would have expected. That is very surprising to me. I would not have picked them to be number 4. Sisters, Sisters are helped with small sample size and a lot of really good players, and then they win a little bit based on matchup unfamiliarity. Like the 700 games, and then Custodes were 2,000.
Right. How many games were Necrons, out of curiosity? 2,500. I mean, I've only played... No, we didn't even play. I watched you play. So yeah, I've never played Sisters in 9th.
Tau at 1,000 is honestly surprising to me. I feel like they're one of the more popular factions, but...
Is this RTTs and GTs, or is this just GTs?
It's just GGs. That's all that stat check looks at.
Yeah, that does feel a little low still, even so.
Tau has a very high overrep. Are they the highest overrep army? So again, they're getting a very small subset of players that are, or small comparatively, placing very high.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that their overrep is higher than Thousand Suns.
They do have very good matchups into Necrons and Custodes, which I guess we're talking about. Those are the two armies to beat. I don't know if it'll go down or not. It'll shift sideways because mass cyclics are currently the number one way to deal with Catan, Wraiths, and Custodes all in like one profile. So cyclics go bye-bye, you'll shift to more Breachers with Montka. But Breachers with Montka are also very good into Custodes, Wraiths, and Catan. So who knows what'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, and you have Star Killer, Crisis Suits, and Cyclic Eye on Breachers, and you pretty much just kill any Golden Boy on the objective by making him take a dozen 4-up saves. I might have gotten the names for some of those units wrong, and just like...
I was going to pass over the names there. But, yeah, the Breachers, I'm just going to be talking Montka, because that's what I think is the all-around generic best. Breachers and Montka, you can spend 1 CP to give 2 Breacher units plus 1 AP, and they'll be at strength 6 rerolling, so you can put 60 shots at 6-2-1 with rerolls into Custodians. Doesn't feel great. They can't -1 damage that. And then for the Crisis Suits, the fusions are hit or miss against Custodes because they don't get the built-in rerolls. It's only against monsters and vehicles. But, 10 Meltas into Custodes is never going to feel great, and it's really good into Catan. 1 Sunforged unit almost kills a Catan by itself if you give it the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I mean, Melta is so good against Catan, and they're 2 shots each, right?
2 shots per Crisis Suit, so 1 Sunforged unit is 6 shots. And then if you give them a generic commander, it's another 4 if you just give him 4 fusions. Or you can give him Commander Farsight for +1 to wound.
Oh, you were saying, but you were Monka, so you can't do the 3-inch away from him. But even so, you can just assault, you can just run up.
Yeah, Farsight and Monka gives them the free auto 6 advance, so sort of comparable.
Oh yeah, so you can take a Breacher Captain instead of a Cold Star too. So I don't know if you would. I don't know, or not Breacher. What is the
Enforcer?
Enforcer. I don't know what the difference is, which one is better in that detachment, but I'm sure that it requires some testing.
It's less about the detachment and more about what you're attaching to them. The Sunforged having that 3-up, 4-up, they don't really care about the Enforcer's -1 AP.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But if you're going to run any of the others that are just 3-up armor, the Enforcer starts looking a lot more attractive. The best spot for him, I think, is in the Retaliation. You can give the Enforcer the redeploy or the teleport enhancement, and so then his slower movement isn't as big of a deal, and you're still getting that -1 AP. And you just jump around.
Yeah, I think that, I'm excited for the Tau Codex to actually come out in full, too, because, I think that it seems more fun to play against. Because Calgon seems a little samey to play against right now. And, everyone's list is pretty similar, so it seems like there'll be more variety and stuff like that.
I definitely feel like there's a general impression of Tau from, a basic Warhammer player is they castle and shoot you really hard, and then you go to actually play, and you're like, hey, what does Calgon do? And you're like, oh, they castle and shoot you really hard. So, getting playstyles that branch out from the sort of meme of Tau is always nice.
Yeah. Instead, you're going to run at me with a bunch of little dudes and punch me in the face. Punch me in the face with guns, but punch me in the face.
You can do that with things other than chainswords?
Yeah, so Breachers just do it they punch you with bullets instead.
If you're playing Crusade, you can punch somebody with the Onager Gauntlet now.
Oh, they added the Onager Gauntlet now?
It's so good. It's 4 attacks at strength 14, AP 3, damage 3 with dev wounds.
And it goes on any commander or only Crisis Suits?
The commander is a Crisis Suit.
Or any character.
Yeah, it's just a Crisis, because it's part of the war gear.
But yeah, just running up and punching a monolith to death is pretty funny.
I would have paid so much money to replace the stupid neurochip that doesn't do anything at all with the Onager Gauntlet.
No, man, the neurochip is great. What do you mean? Just use it for something. I don't know.
Alright, let's not get too far back into just redoing the entire Tau Codex episode.
Thousand Suns, what's the gameplay count on Thousand Suns? It's gotta be low, right? Oh, it's almost 700 actually, so that's only a little bit lower than Sisters. Yeah, I think that Thousand Suns I think they should be nerfed in some way, because I think that they are very good, but they're also very hard to play, and honestly, I don't know how to balance armies like that.
Yeah, it's like the Eldar problem. A lot of the units are too good, and so they could just do with being made worse and having the point points go down.
This data slate is just points, though, right? Or is that the last one?
Theoretically, they're supposed to do points every 3 months and rules every 6 months. It remains to be seen if the fact that they've done rules every time is a factor of the edition being new, or if they decided to change that design philosophy. I would expect just points, but if they throw rules in there, I wouldn't be surprised. Especially when they were talking about they decided not to look at Necrons and AdMech. If they threw in Necrons and AdMech rules changes, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I would expect both to be in this next slate.
I mean, AdMech needs some rule changes, right? Sitting at a 45, and I think a 45 is kind of a miracle, to be perfectly honest with you. Oh, only 401 games played, so yeah. That's people who are who love the faction and are playing it.
Is there anybody who's got less? I mean, Imperial Agents, right?
Yeah, but they don't count.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Anybody who has less than 400?
Deathwatch.
Yeah, I don't know if I count them as a faction. I guess they're a faction, but they're Marines.
GSC.
Okay, GSC, that's a real stat.
Yeah, it seems like 700 is like the floor for most normal factions except for GSC.
What about Tyranids? That's more than I thought they'd have.
It's more than Tau. That is surprising to me. That poor 0.34% representation, though nobody's placing well with them.
Yeah, they can win a couple games. They're not going X and 1 anytime soon. Well, I should say they aren't doing it consistently, not anytime soon.
I think Tyranids playstyle is very mentally draining, too.
It's not fun.
Doing 6 games where you just have to move that many models and just think that hard is going to burn you out pretty fast.
And it's so easy to just take a turn off when you're moving your 20 gargoyles and all the little micro you can do with the spore mines, and it's so easy to just take a turn off and be like, yeah, I'll throw it generally over here, I'll put these guys generally over here, and then you get to your next turn and you're like, oh shit, I needed to move them an inch to the right, or I need to put them an inch further back, or something like that.
Imperial Knights sitting at a 48 is genuinely surprising to me. Even when I'm playing armies that I don't really want to play Knights with because I don't have a lot of anti-tank, Imperial Knights are very not impressive to me. I think that they just need to raise the price of the big guys, lower the price of the little guys, and give bondsman abilities back. Because I think that that's kind of the faction identity is you get 1 or 2 big guys and then a couple little guys and you give them bondsman and have them do stuff.
It's pretty much what everybody's been saying since they changed bondsman.
Yeah, it's not exactly the hottest take in the world, I'll admit that, but I don't know what else you do to the faction.
I wonder how realistic it is for them to get a different armature kit. Because right now you're just doing Warglaive or Helverin, and the Warglaive I'm pretty sure is regarded as the better one, so they have the Chaos Knight problem. But Chaos Knights at least have a few different small ones, and Imperial Knights just have 2, so...
I think War Dogs have twice as many.
Yeah, War Dog, you can do 4 loadouts with War Dogs.
Is it only 4 now? But still, 4 is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, why is there no Gatling cannon option? Why is there no Brigand equivalent, right? That doesn't really make any sense. Why is putting a big chain cannon on a guy's arm, why is that heresy? Or a plasma variant, I think would be pretty neat. I think it'd be very Adeptus, Mechanicus type style. But I think Knights just need some kind of affection there, because I think that they're going to... I don't think that they're going to get much higher than 48 in the long run.
It is good to see Drukhari at 51. And this is something I'm going to touch on a little bit. I can't remember the exact conversation I was having, but I think the topic was that GW should release a lot of the codexes at the same time, and then that way they can get more data sooner to make them better. But everything we've seen is that GW actually does a decent job of looking at the data and evaluating it and putting the right solutions in for detachments. Because when 10th came out, it was the same thing. Everything dropped at the same time, and there was very, very clear disparities in power level, looking at Death Guard and Eldar. But then they made a new detachment. They didn't really make a new detachment for Death Guard. They gave them a new rule. And the Contagion rule is pretty much, I think, the perfect solution they could have done for Death Guard. Death Guard have been strong contenders in the meta. They've won events. And it's both flavorful and interesting to the player because you have to make a decision pre-game. And then they looked at Drukhari, which was the other super underperforming army. And they went ahead and for that, they made an entire new detachment. But again, they solved problems in a very good way. They gave Drukhari players a playstyle they were hoping for. They made it strong, but not overbearing. They allowed for expression of player skill. And now, looking at that, they're sitting at 51%. I don't think anybody can complain about where Drukhari's at right now.
No, I think Sky Splinter can definitely run over some players for sure that are unprepared for it. They're just not familiar with how it works. But I think that they can definitely put up some good games against people who even at the higher echelons of play. Real Space Raiders obviously is still at 41%, and it is what it is. But not every detachment is going to be a baller out, right?
I'd say that's 12 people keeping that dream alive right there.
They're doing their best.
12 people who really want Fire and Fade.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only issue with Drukhari is I think Scourges are too cheap. I hate them. Any unit that moves 14 inches, then can shoot and fire and fade for free, should not be 130 points or whatever it is.
What about 80?
Now we're talking.
Alex knows what I'm talking about.
Wait, what's 80 points?
Gargoyles.
Don't they have to pay for it? Is it free for them too?
Yeah, it's free. And they have assault. And they're OC2. The issue is they just don't have real guns.
Yeah, the issue is that their guns are like strength 4, AP 0-1 damage. Probably hit on 4s.
But they're like 8 points a model.
Yeah, well, you shoot gargoyles to move them. You shoot scourges to actually do damage. But yeah, gargoyles are absolutely too cheap. So, like,
Oh, they're strength 5, AP 0. Moving up in the world.
And they get like sustained or lethal if you're taking invasion fleet.
True.
Gargoyle is confirmed OP. GW, please nerf.
They're a little ridiculous. I know Tyranids aren't blowing the world up, but gargoyles are ridiculous.
Yeah, gargoyles in any other army would be just disgusting completely. Could you imagine like gargoyles in Space Marines or Tau or Eldar of all things? It should be such a problem. 80 points for 10 dudes that just move with the speed of God and like, hey, I'm gonna take whatever point I want because I'm faster than you.
Yeah, I'm gonna move 12, advance 4, and then fire and fade 6, and that's 20 OC. And then if I'm in the unending swarm, you can put them back when they die and do it again. They have deep strike, so when you put them back, they deep strike.
There is one thing Tyranids are really good at, and it's just showing up all over the damn board whenever we want. Unfortunately, we don't kill anything when we do it, but we can be there.
I mean, quantity is a quality all in of itself.
Yeah.
So
You make up for it by keeping all your gargoyles in takeout containers.
yeah. Just get eat a bunch of Chinese food and put your gargoyles in there and just take them to tables.
Man, I'm going to be honest, I don't even have that many gargoyles because they are such a nightmare to transport and move around because each one is on their stupid little fly stick thing. And so just having 80 of those that you have to worry about breaking in the middle of the game, absolute nightmare. The Griblies are already hard enough to move anyways. Gargoyles are a nightmare to transport.
Yeah, they're like the worst incarnation of playing Red Rover with each other all the time, right?
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, I think that all of the big bugs are just too expensive, and gargoyles need to go up in price. Because I feel as though like Tyranids have a kind of a damage issue.
Yeah, definitely. Too much of our big stuff is not good enough at being big, scary monster.
I don't think the big bugs are too expensive. I think it's the issue that everything's like AP2 damage 3, which is a profile that sounds really good until you play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you shoot stuff that has cover and armor contempt, and that AP2 means AP nothing.
You just need to run one of these. I mean, that's the fix.
Just run a single height Hierophant.
Hey man, I got one.
I mean, even looking at that biocannon, is that AP3 damage 3 I see?
I will say don't sleep on it because he does have 2 of them. So that is
Okay.
2d6 plus 12 shots.
With blast.
Yeah, it is a lot. And he can also add 1 to wound with it with his one nonsense thing.
I just loved on the stream that had the guy had the Hierophant, and he jumped out with a Pyrovores. He hopped a bunch of Pyrovores out of there, and then his opponent put a bunch of shooting into it, and he started picking up the Pyrovores. He's like, wait, they die that easily? Like, yeah, they're not monsters. They're very weak.
Yeah, they're 30 points.
They're 30 points on a 60mm base.
30 points, $50 a piece.
It's very, very dollar effective per model.
35 points.
Oh, that's right. They got nerfed recently.
Yeah.
T5, 3-up save.
Also, OC1 on a 60 mil base is just kind of nonsense. Especially going back to we talked about Illuminator Xeris, who's OC3.
Just because.
If we want to talk wonky profiles, literally nobody that I have played with the Triumph has understood the gigantic mess of a stat block she is. She's on a 120 mil oval base and she's T3, but she's 18 wounds with 18 melee attacks and is OC6. Nothing about the profile makes sense.
I mean, she's just 9 girls, right?
6, but...
Oh, 6?
Yeah, it's just like...
So she's 6 3-wound bodies. Like, whatever.
I mean, they're not 3 wounds, though. They're 1 wound. And she's also infantry on a 120 mil base.
Did you say isn't she 18 wounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if it's 6 girls, they're 6 3-wound bodies.
I mean, mathematically, yes, but the actual, like, nothing in Sisters is 3 wounds.
Yeah, I don't know where they came up with that, but I mean, if she was any less wounds, it'd be terrible. Can you imagine, like, a squad of Eradicators shooting into her? Like, you're gonna auto-pass 2 of the saves, I guess, so...
And you don't get rerolls.
Oh, because her whatever.
Because she's infantry.
Oh, I thought you meant to like ever. Like you just can't reroll.
Oh, no. They didn't take that from 9th. I meant like you're shooting Eradicators. You're not getting rerolls. You're just shooting Eradicators.
I don't think you really need the reroll to wound.
No, I don't know, man. Those 2-ups are gonna be real tricky.
Reroll to hit maybe. Although if you oath her, I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think that the Triumph has always been kind of a weird model.
Don't worry, you can put your 6-man Eradicator with Fire Discipline into her, and then I'll stand her back up for 1 CP.
Well, don't you have to roll it?
No, No, you just discard Miracle Dice.
That's the one that happens automatically.
Celestine, you have to roll the 2 up.
Someone has a strat where they stand a character back up on a 2+, and like it's like if you have to pay for it, you should just do it automatic. I want to say Necrons.
I thought theirs was automatic, but I haven't seen a lot of Awakened Dynasty.
Maybe I'm getting edition confusion. 40k is a hell of a drug, man. But yeah, I think that ultimately AdMech needs some sort of rules changes. Tyranids need some kind of either rules changes or just like their whole index point cost need to be completely rebalanced. Like start from square one, because it's
Somebody didn't get the memo that T12 was going to be a common stat.
right. Like if people are already prepared for breaking down really tough bodies, like it's fine.
Everybody's prepared except for Tyranids. We have like 3 things above strength 12. It's bad.
Oh, Norns are a T11, aren't they? Carnifexes are what, 10?
Yeah, Norn Assimilator is T11, Emissary also T11. Carnifexes I think are lower than that. Carnifexes are 9.
Carnifexes are rhinos?
Yeah, they do have a 2-up save, I will say. That's something.
Oh, they're Grey Knight rhinos.
Yeah, they're T9 with 8 wounds.
They're worse than a Rhino, except for the save. Is that Leadership 8, I see? Because of Synapse, I guess.
Yeah, the thing they gave us that just made all of our units worse, yes. I think that the best leadership in the whole army is a 7, and it's on the Swarmlord. The Swarmlord is leadership 7. For anybody that's curious.
The Synapse rule doesn't do anything weird like it only works in the command phase, does it?
It's just each time you take a battle shock, we get to roll 3d6. So it should be pretty much any time we need to.
Okay, so hopefully, I don't know if that means I gotta read the Exalted 8-bounce ability, because that's pretty lame if that doesn't work against that.
Yeah, it's not a great army rule, really, any way that you look at it. It's a little silly.
Well, at least you get to resist Chaos Knights doing things.
True.
Talking about the aura for Exalted?
Yeah, the non-fallback aura.
Yeah, each time a unit is within 6 inches, selected fallback, the units must take a leadership test.
Oh my god, you don't get it.
Great,
Yeah.
So we just get shafted. I'm glad that the Swarmlord needs to roll a 7 on 2 dice to fall back if he wanted to.
I'm gonna relook up Synapse. This is something I have never cared about, so.
Either does GW, apparently.
Well, in every other edition I've played, it's never mattered because it's just, I don't take morale tests, so it's just a phase that I never associated with, and now it's just, you're worse at morale if you're outside of Synapse.
Yeah, was Synapse you auto-passed? In 9th?
In 8th and 9th, yes.
Each time you take a battle shock test. Yeah, so taking a leadership test is not the same as taking a battle shock test.
Well, that's lovely.
Because Exalted 8-bound doesn't force a battle shock test, right? It forces a leadership check?
Correct.
Because it doesn't force battle shock if you fail? Yeah, nice. Have fun rolling those 8s.
Yeah, lots of 8s, nothing lower than a 7.
Are the Griblies 9 or are they 8?
They're 8s.
Still, less than a 50% chance.
No, it's less.
Yeah, that's not great. Well, I really hope that 8-bound don't go up in price.
Again?
Yeah, I want World Eaters to be better. They can raise the price in the Lord of Skulls, it's fine.
No.
Well, right. Wait till the Richmond Open for Michael's sake.
Yes, please.
I understand that Blessing of Corn is a really good ability, but I want Berserkers to be less than 100 points for 5 dudes.
I don't know if Angron should be allowed to be resurrected. I go back and forth on that.
I think that they just kind of wrote it, and now it's the faction identity, so it'd be weird to take it away now.
Yeah, I think they were like, would it be funny if when you rolled 666, Angron came back, and they were like, yeah, that won't happen that much, and then World Eaters players were doing it reliably every game, and now it's what the faction does?
Less so these days, but yes.
In GW's defense, it is very funny when you bring Angron back.
It's very funny when 2 world leaders bring back the same turn.
Yeah, it's great. It's all right, no Angrons on the field to 2 Angrons on the field. That's how this works.
Has it gotten to the point, as somebody who doesn't play World Eaters, where, I don't know how seriously either of you have played World Eaters, but when you're in a close game and you're like, I really need Angron to come back this game, and it's just reliable enough that you're sad when he doesn't, has that ever happened?
Yeah, I mean, if you're relying on Angron to do something and you don't get that roll because you don't get it or you don't have icons on points or you're not running something that lets you do that roll, yeah, it hurts because that's game over at that point. I mean, you were relying on him to do something and then it just doesn't happen. Like the game with Mason. If I hadn't gotten Angron back, he still would have won. If he hadn't gotten Angron back, I would have won.
Yeah, I have won one game that I should not have won because Angron came back. I've never lost a game because I expected him to come back and he didn't. But there was a game against Will that I think I would have won, but it was definitely going to be a knockout, drag-out fight. But instead I just rolled 3 6s and Angron came back. And Will's like, I'm not going to keep playing. There's no way I can win now. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because I killed every heavy hitter in his army. So it's Angron's just going to kill 1 unit a turn for the rest of the game and you're never going to score another point of primary. And that is a problem. But ultimately, what are you gonna do? Because even if you take no Angron and you just like you go first with World Eaters, it's a problem because you have a bunch of really, really high toughness, very fast units that any time you take any space in the center, I'm going to charge you and kill you.
There's plenty of lists, I think, that are viable without Angron and without, like, Titanic models like the Lord of Skulls.
I believe there was a non-Angron list that won a GT.
There was. I did see that. I didn't see the list, but I saw the blurb on Goonhammer. But, I mean, there are a lot of models you can take in place of. I mean, I could fill out an army for 2,000 points without the 1,300 points and 3 units I have and have a table full of 8-bound Exalted and a whole bunch of stuff that's just going to run at you and hit you.
Yeah, I've been watching the Red Path on YouTube lately, and he's been running what he calls non-Gron, which is no Angron. But for me, I'm like, if I'm playing World Eaters, I'm playing Angron. I just think it's fun. I just think he's neat. But no, I don't think that it's like you have to run this guy. I think that you do occasionally just auto-win games you should not have won because you rolled 3 6s.
Yeah. When we were back before, like when we were in that period of time between like April and May, when they were doing those faction reveals every week, or was it every day or something like that? And those were really exciting. People were really excited for those. And World Eaters was one of my favorite. Having the Blood God, sort of reminiscent to 9th edition, was it Demons that did that?
The Warp Tithe points is what Demons did. Yeah, it was kind of like that.
But they were a little more reliable. They weren't as wonky. You were guaranteed to always get at least 2 things that were helpful. I was like, man, that's exciting. I'm good for World Eaters, because before just having like you hit harder be your army roll was a little boring. But now I go back and forth, same with Angron, and whether I think it's a good design choice to have random rolls be such a core part of your faction identity. Because on one hand, it is a dice game, and not everything is for competitive integrity. But on the other hand, the game experiences it creates, it just can create feels bad moments in a way that other army rules don't.
So I will say, at a minimum, you're going to get either +2 movement or +1 to feel no pain rolls.
Yeah.
So, like, you have at least something going for you. It's very unlikely that that's the only two that happen. Typically, you'll probably have at a minimum both of those, and you'll probably have something better too. But it was kind of my issue in, I think it was the 6th edition Chaos Codex that came out. So in 6th edition Warhammer 40k, I'm very old, just so you guys all know, there was the challenge mechanic where your squad sergeants and characters could challenge other squad sergeants and characters. And CSM was all about, I'm going to challenge your character in combat. If I kill you, I get a blessing roll. Kind of similar to the way the Slaves of Darkness Eye of the Gods table works in Age of Sigmar. The issue is, a lot of them were really bad. Like, a lot of them were very, very bad and, like, or just mediocre. They didn't do anything. Like, you get shooting bonuses on your Corn Lord. It's like, doesn't do anything. So it's like, you can't plan for it and you can't pick them. So it's not a great mechanic. It's a very fun mechanic. I think it's something that should be more lean towards like a crusade where you're just going to have a good time, and less so of a like, oh, turn to turn, I need to plan for a lot of variance. Like, I might not have advance in charge when I need it. I might not be able to get sustained hits when I need it. Even fight on death not being consistent, I think for a melee army is kind of a little bit of a negative thing. It would be nice if you could pick one and roll for a second and make the really good ones a little harder to get. Maybe that's fine. Or have 2 categories. Like, they're the easy ones you can get, you can pick, and then you can roll for it and get a second one.
Even if Angron was like, Angron comes back on 3 unmodified 6s. I don't know if anything can modify the dice besides Lord of Skulls, but like that might go a bit to helping things.
Icons can. You can re-roll a dice. I don't know if that would count as modification so much, but if you have an icon bear on a objective, you can re-roll one of the dice. The only thing I know to modify is Lord of Skulls, and that's up or down depending. I don't know why you'd go down, but maybe you don't get your 6s and you need something else.
I don't think World Eaters are like a boogeyman. I think that they are just an issue with the fact that if they go first, they are a problem because they could just instantly put a bunch of pressure on you in your deployment zone. And like, even if it's not the tactically correct play to do that, because like I very rarely actually play where I like go +2 movement, advance and charge, and just charge my opponent that they're a deployment zone turn 1. But like, but when you do that, sometimes even if it's the tactically wrong play, like your opponent just can't fight their way out in time to score enough primary.
That's what happened both times I played Knights. I got first turn, I ran at him, boxed him in, and just kept him there while I scored primary.
Another weird nuance with going first with World Eaters where you always do your blessings at the start of the battle round. So if you're going first as World Eaters, your opponent doesn't know when they're positioning during their movement phase if you'll have movement bonuses or not. So they always have to play like you will. But if World Eaters go second, they make that movement roll, they make those Blood God choices, and then the opponent gets to say, okay, I know he's got +2 inches, so I'll stay 2 inches further back than I would normally.
Yeah, World Eaters are probably either high B or low to mid A going first. Orks going second, they're probably around a C tier army. It is very stressful when you're deploying and you don't know what they're going to be able to do next turn.
Yeah, because then you have to really pick and choose those blessings a little bit more carefully, because it's not always going to be the 2-inch advance and charge. Feel No Pain does a lot of work for that army. Same with Fight on Death.
Yeah, ultimately, World Eaters, I think they're going to be kind of in this weird spot until they get a codex. I think that there's very possible there's going to be kind of like the same thing they did with the Calgon detachment in World Eaters, because there are 6 stratagems in the World Eater detachment, and 5 of them are straight bangers. Like, they're really good stratagems, and they're probably going to spread that love out a little bit, because I don't know how they could come up with any a combination of stratagems that are as good as those 5.
I don't know how they're going to come up with a detachment that's as good as the base detachment, other than giving them, like we've talked about before, Custodes treatment.
Well, they're going to give them all fights first, obviously.
Yeah, but I already do that in the charge, so I mean, come on.
Well, no, but that way you're defensive World Eaters.
No, that's wrong. That's not the right way to play that army. Defense? No, offense all the way.
You have devastating wounds on all your attacks. I don't know, just goofy nonsense, is the only thing I can possibly think of. There's no, good answer here. Because they haven't made a detachment yet that actively locks out units, right? So, you can soft lock units by saying, demon units, I think that 8-bound had the demon keyword, demon units gain this bonus, but you can't say you could only take demon units like they did in 9th edition.
Yeah, not with detachment. Deathwatch locks out some of the marine stuff, but...
Yeah, the sub-factions do. Although, I think that for a while in Black Templar, you could take librarians. You just couldn't take them in the...
Yeah, you can't take them in Righteous Crusaders, but you could take them with Templars.
Yes, that should just be straight up illegal. I don't know. I don't allow that. That's not okay. They'd be hating the wizard.
There you go. Give us a psychic detachment. That'll make a lot of sense with World Leaders.
Give him a Battle Shock detachment.
One of the enhancements in that book is going to be the Brass Collar of Khorne that gives the unit a Feel No Pain against psychic attacks. It writes itself. It's going to happen.
We'll see. If we won't get a codex till right before the edition ends, so it probably won't matter, because that's what happens to armies I play.
Fair enough. Orks.
No, just skip that.
Well, we don't need to get into it. I'm just surprised Orks are at 47% because I think Orks are very good.
Well, let's see how many players we're talking. 210 players, 1,100 games, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so they won 2 events, which is relatively high. Death Guard have 5 event wins? What the hell?
Back when the biologist could triple grenade.
Oh, that's pretty good, right? You just throw 4 grenades and just do 12 more wounds to something on your opponent's field for 1 CP. It's pretty neat. But I think that Orks are good. I do think they have some hard matchups. Obviously, Will played Drukhari in the finals of the RTT yesterday. And, when I saw that, I was like, I don't know. I think that's a really rough matchup for Orks because, they don't have a lot of shooting that can pop the transports, which means that Drukhari's always just going to pop out and get ignore cover and +1 AP against them.
I have the opposite opinion. I think that Orks have a really good matchup into Drukhari. Maybe not really good, but,
Preston, I'll see you in the parking lot, man. Let's go.
Orks have some really good tools. First off, the knobs are -1 to wound always, and then you can also put -1 to wound on them with a strat.
But they're anti-infantry on so much of their stuff.
That's true, but I'm looking specifically at big incubi blocks. The big incubi are strength 4 with lance out of the transport. Knobs, you can still make them wound on 6s.
Yeah, incubi are not going to do that. That's fair.
If you don't want to do that, you can just fight on death, and fight on death ruins Drukhari because they want to survive the fight phase to get back into their transports.
Yeah, they do like running away.
One thing I did hear that I did not know was that -1 to wound is a battle tactic, and that got vected turn 1. So maybe you wait a turn to use it or something else, but I did not know you could vect that.
That happened yesterday. How did it get vected turn 1?
He just has an Archon on the field. And so this was a positioning error by Will, is that he deployed on the line like he does, and then he didn't respect the Scourge shooting, and then he didn't respect the Beast Pack as well. So the Beast Pack scouts 9, moves 12.
Oh, yeah. Those things, those things tie up like no other.
He was going, Drukhari player was going for just a big, tie up all the transports, tag them all, that sort of play. But I think he rolled a little hot on Dark Lances, and he popped a truck with knobs in it. So then he just charged the Beast Pack into knobs, and that was where the -1 to wound went, and it got vected on turn 1.
I'm surprised his Archon was on the field, but if he deployed it on the field, just standing on his backfield objective like some people do, then...
Maybe he didn't. Maybe it was a misplay. Maybe he just forgot that maybe the Archon's in transport and doesn't get the rule, but I couldn't say.
Yeah, either way, it's pretty rough to have your strat that makes you basically unkillable against Dark Elves vected turn 1. So, and then thinking about Will's army, it's pretty elite too. So I feel as though he just doesn't have the activations needed to deal with all the units that Sky Splinter brings to the table.
The other thing that I think ruins Drukhari is the flash gets, because that'll obliterate 2 units in shooting and then another one in Overwatch. But from what I heard, again, I think he played them really conservative, and so he didn't bring the full Overwatch threat out. He hung them back a bit, which might have also been a misplay. but I was playing my own game, so I'm only going off what the Jakari player told me.
Yeah, I feel so vindicated with flash kits because I remember yelling at Will like flash kits are great. He's like, I just don't get it. I'm like, they're great. They're really good. What do you mean? So now Will has finally come along to see the light, but not that I would ever give Orks any respect. Orks are terrible.
There. And if you go back to listen to the early episodes, you'll clearly hear him talk about flash kits and them not being good. So it's recorded. It's factual.
It is in the internet forever.
It is.
Yeah, I think that Drukari are probably going to get a little bit tweaked, but I think they're probably in a good place.
I honestly don't know what I would tweak.
Maybe Venoms go up 10, Scourges go up 20.
Okay, Scourges up 20 is a little absurd. Maybe 10.
Preston, I hate them.
I hate them too. I play Tau. They're the bane of Tau's existence because Tau have no good indirect.
That is fair. They do melt to indirect. I always forget. I don't play armies with indirect fire anymore. Okay, yes, I play CSM, but I haven't played CSM a lot in 9th or in 10th. I mean,
can you give the Obliterators indirect and the blast profile or whatever their blast equivalent profile is?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Obliterators are goofy, like straight up. Like I don't like them because like it feels like I have terrible luck. So it's like, oh, my 4 units, like they're very hard to kill and they have a bunch of shots. And I'm like, oh, I rolled 1 on all my shots. Oh, I rolled 1 on all my saves. Okay. These were 90 points a model. But every time people use them against me, I get very sad because they just kill stuff. But CSM are at 44% win rate. What's the player count on that?
Probably very low because everybody who was meta chasing switched.
907, 174 players. That is pretty low.
I think that's in the middle of what we were looking at. I think 700 was our like baseline.
Yeah, but CSM usually is one of the higher represented factions, even when it wasn't the best. But yeah, I do think many people abandon the spiky marines for either other flavors of spiky marines or other factions entirely. They definitely didn't go to AdMech, I will say that. But honestly, like just going to Blood Angels, you can play a very similar kind of game plan that you were used to playing with CSM and probably do better. You do have a lot of gold in your army too, so like it kind of works out.
And then they have random good shooting threats like the ball predators and the eradicator blocks.
Yeah, like I was about to mention the ball predators, so like that tank is really good. And it has like can't you give it either multi-melters or heavy flamers too? Like
you just take heavy flamers.
Yeah, because it has assault if it shoots infantry.
It has assault if it shoots infantry, which is already like geared toward flamers. And then I think it has to take one of the flamers. There's like the ball flamestorm cannon, and then there's just a heavy flamer, and it has to take one of them.
It's like dirt cheap too, so I think it's 140 or something like that. Like yeah, it's a really good tank. And then obviously Death Company need no introduction.
Even just the intercessors with chainswords.
Death Company intercessors with chainswords or
no, just the names all blend together from your space range. But there's just like generic space range with jump packs and chainswords that you just take like 5 of and they'll go and beat up crap.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I really like the Vanguard vets with the Sanguinary Priests. They give them the 4-up invuln and a 5-up Feeling of Pain. That's a pretty tanky unit for relatively cheap. Blood Angels just have a lot of tools, I think, out there. And I'm actually a little surprised they're only at a 48% win rate.
It's another army that's a lot of movement. A lot of the gameplay is based on the movement phase, which just makes it a little bit harder to play than some other stuff. It's very easy to get either your movement wrong, your positioning wrong, or your target priority wrong. Like maybe you put your expensive brick into something that it didn't need to go into.
Yeah, you can mess it up pretty badly. I can definitely agree with that. I have a bunch of guys with jump packs. Maybe I should pull their arms off and just get them power fists and run Blood Angels because I really do like guys with jump packs as an army type.
Maybe you'll get Votan jump packs eventually.
That would require them to have a movement stat over 8.
They could throw them really far, maybe. Add a launcher to this hackathon, just have a catapult or the better trebuchet.
You just launch Iron Kid into your opponent's backfield and like spore mines.
It can be called quote unquote deep strike with literal quotes around it. So, it could happen. So, should we talk about the important thing at this point?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Bloodbowl? Yeah, those gnomes on screen right there.
Badgers too.
Badgers, foxes.
Do those tokens come with the...
Yeah.
Oh, those are cool tokens.
Yeah, I will be pre-ordering that next weekend. It's a stunty team for Bloodbowl, so you don't expect to win with stunty teams, but I still want the team.
That's criminal. The Beastmasters have to choose between the Badger or the Goose. What a cruel and sadistic litmus test that GW is forcing on their players.
Yeah, but those are also like the Guardian guys, so it fits for both, but you definitely have to go Goose. You definitely go Goose. Even if it's 2 Gooses, you go Goose.
I was going to say, the question is, does the box come with 2 geese and 2 badgers?
That would be nice.
Because if so, then, you have extra little guys, little silly little guys. Oh, I didn't realize the little acorns were balls, too. That's pretty...
Yeah.
This is a hilarious kit.
It's a fun team.
This is single-handedly going to get us into Blood Bowl. This goose.
Oh yeah. So speaking of Blood Bowl, I mean, I went to my local tower on Saturday and met one of our friends to sell some war dogs to, actually. And I was there to get Blood Bowl. I was going to buy at least the instructions, the core rule book for it, just to get a feel, get a read for it. And then that's when I saw the sale table Haileydyer for 50% off, and I had to buy her instead. So
yeah, I don't know how that got on the sales table for 50% off. That's a crazy deal, but that's awesome. Congratulations, man.
2 of them on there. I should have bought the second one. That was an easy buy.
You were kind of flirting with buying that model when it was 160, right? So
yeah, 150, but yeah, still expensive. So I got it for $79 with tax.
Totally reasonable.
But these guys, I kind of like these Night Lords kits that are the Kill Team kits. I kind of like the way they look. I'm not going to buy the box for it, but I like the aesthetic because apparently I have a thing for trim.
Yeah, you like getting shaky-handed trying to paint all the trim on all these guys.
Yeah, but I like the kits. I do like the kits. I'm not a huge Kill Team fan, but I like the kits.
Yeah, it's very obviously is just the Legionnaire kit with an extra sprue. So looking at it that way, it looks like there's the champion's sword in the middle. It looks like his sword's a little different. Looks like there's like an 8-bound eviscerator type weapon kind of thing with a 2-handed glaive type thing. I think the missile launcher is unique. That plasma gun might be different, and then the claws might be different. Other than that, it's just heads. I think that knife is from the normal kit. It might not be. Maybe I'm crazy, but I thought that there's just a drippy sword. No, that banner is definitely unique. Yeah, sorry. I thought it was always in my head. That's why I didn't say it, but the banner is definitely Night Lord specific.
Yeah. Don't you like hanging dead Space Marines from your banner? They do.
Hopefully you get a weapon profile for it, because that's going to be pretty heavy, Got that metal ribcage, basically, you're hitting people with. Or you can just punch him in the back and he spits acid out.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not going to buy the set at all. Maybe the upgrade sprue if it ever comes out by itself, which it will eventually, but, I'm not. It's cool. It's just not worth me buying.
It'll just sell in its box of its own for $5 more than a regular kit. Like, when I was playing CSM in 9 and I was buying Legionary kits, I just bought the Kill Team box, because for $5 more, you get a whole other sprue full of good weapons. It's the same thing. At least for CSM, like, you pretty much want as many bits as possible, because then you just can make more kits.
Yeah, but you can buy the Gorgers if you really want the Warcry team for the Ogre guys there. Those are good models.
It does come with 4 dogs also.
Well, I'm talking about the Gorgers, the Ogre guys that I have up on screen here. They don't come with dogs.
But you can put the dogs on their bases.
But they'd be dead.
No. They can be friends with dogs too. Everyone can be friends with a dog.
I don't think these guys are, though. Something tells me they wouldn't care for dogs.
Well, most of their eyes are closed or covered, so they couldn't see the dog, so they wouldn't know.
But yes, you get 5 dogs in here, and hey, 4 of them have their own base, and one's got a little raven head skull.
Like you do, Dogs like to take trophies, I guess, of birds. I don't know.
Then you have children, I suppose, up in the top right.
Well, it's a Warhammer IP, so yeah, there's got to be child soldiers somewhere.
Makes sense.
Hunting literal monsters, literal like ogre monsters.
Yeah, and then terrain if you want terrain pieces. I mean, nice enough terrain, but
It's just the fact that like a table full of GW terrain is like $700 because like all the kits are expensive and small.
Yeah, like I mean, it's 2 pieces, large pieces, mind you, but that's only like 2 pieces.
And it's going to be $60 to $80, if not more.
Oh no, this will be like 150.
Yeah, I just can't justify that when my little plastic guys are so expensive already.
Oh yeah, and then you have the star player and the treant guard for the gnome guys. Gnome guy's a fisherman with the ball.
Is the treant guard for the gnomes as well?
Yeah.
So could you just run a couple treant guys with your gnomes and make them good?
Maybe. I don't know enough about the rules to answer that question, honestly, but I will probably pick one of each up.
You could do it against me and I wouldn't know any better.
Had you played this game? Just roll 6s, right?
Yeah, roll dice and make stuff up.
Yeah, and some books and other various stuff. Hey, the display cases are shown again, but this time they're not shown with gray plastic like they did last time.
Yeah, that was a weird choice. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, still not worth it, especially for a single regular Space Marine. Really?
Yeah, I was about to say, like the regular Space Marine Sergeant in a display case also, like, I don't know, man. Like, this case is gonna be kind of expensive. These will come in 30 different sizes?
Apparently.
Wow.
What?
You can transport your whole army in a single one case per model.
Does that mean that my Biotitan will get one?
Do they have pricing on those?
Yeah, but it's gonna be like $400.
Expensive. Yeah, that's $225 for this big case.
Oh my god.
It's for a town. What's the size on this thing? Specifications.
You could fit an entire Shahar loot in there.
Somebody do math. 69 centimeter by 36 by 28.
So that's a little over 2 feet wide, a little more than a foot deep, and little under a foot tall. So basically 2 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, roughly.
I love how it shows someone wiping the fingerprints off the box in the picture.
Well, it's also a hand for scale, you know?
I don't get it.
So, I mean, these aren't, that one was a limited edition one, so maybe it's more expensive. I mean, not that this isn't expensive, but, you know, still $110. Let's choose options.
Yeah, that's a lot for a clear plastic cube with a background.
So the biggest one
Yeah.
is $109. That's actually $109 for the, like, it looks like it fits like 2 squads. Is surprisingly decent for GW. GW accessories are not cheap. I mean, they have a paint cup that's $20. I mean, considering I use old boxes from Costco to store my minis in when they're not, because they stack pretty nice.
Yeah.
And they're deep enough that my guys can stand up straight without weighing on each other. It works fine. But if you want something a little nicer,
Like, I'd consider one of these for Angron if they had the right measurements and it wasn't like a lot of money, you know? Because Angron's on a fiddly model, an expensive model, and he deserves to be in his own case. Maybe that's just me.
But I don't like the way that opens up, though. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, but it unscrews, so I think, because those are
Oh, it
screw
comes
holes
all the
right
way
there.
up. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's not as bad then.
Yeah, it's not a hinge, so.
I also thought there was a lip,
There's a lip on the back end. Where's the picture? Right here? Yeah, see?
so you could get the base caught on that lip and just like rip that base right on off.
Well, but it's on the outside. It's not a lip on the inside, so when you open it up, it shouldn't impact the model if you take that off.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad then.
Because, I mean, it is screwing with these, like, I don't know that these are technically thumb screws or not, but that's what it looks like holds it in place. And for those listening, this is the Wicked Brick website that has the cases for Warhammer and Lego, apparently, as well. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't see the need for it right now, but, you know, hey, if I ever get a Fulgrim model that's really nice and painted, we'll see. So, Age of Sigmar. How do we feel about the 10thification of Age of Sigmar 4? Because that seems to be kind of where they're going with some additional roles. I mean, indexes, the battle tomes are all out of date as soon as 4 drops, and we're getting indexes for all the armies, which is good, because it'd be good to play with the new roles. But people seem to be naysaying that. Kind of, I think, the way they did with 10th, but I don't know. I think it worked okay with 10th for the most part.
Yeah, I think that from what I've heard, Index Hammer from 8th to 9th was a problem, but I didn't really feel that it was that bad from 9th to 10th, other than, like, obviously, the people who wrote the Eldar Index were not the same people who wrote the Admech Index, right? I don't think there's anything or problematic with that, because I think that using codexes from a previous edition just is basically, like you're saying, you have to errata the whole thing and say, this is what this means in this context. So I think it's the right way to do it.
And the priority roll change, I think it's a good offset. You lose a battle tactic, which isn't always make or break like turn 1, 2, but it at least is a penalty for going first, or back to back rather.
Can you make your opponent double turn and then lose a battle tactic? Is that an option, or do you only lose a battle tactic if you pick?
It's when you choose. I was looking at that.
Yeah.
It's that second paragraph on screen there, when you choose to take a double turn.
So you can't force it on somebody else, rather.
That's probably fine. It's a relatively niche option, hopefully, unless that they make the edition very lethal. It should never be like, oh, we get the double turn, where we win. That's great. So it's something they have to take into account when they do balance updates and stuff like that. But I don't see an issue with it inherently. If you tie the roll, the first player in the previous round chooses the turn order. Is that weird to anybody else? Am I just overthinking it maybe?
Yeah, I'm not sure why you wouldn't just reroll.
I guess that basically guarantees there won't be a double turn, though, if that way. So that way it's very unlikely it's less likely a double turn happens.
Well, I mean, it's the penalty. So, I mean, if you want to take the double turn, then you lose battle tactics that round. So, I mean, do you want to do back-to-back, or what do you want to do?
Can't you still score all your battle tactics, though? Like, can't you only score 4 battle tactics a game anyway? I guess that's assuming you can score at turn 1.
So pardon my ignorance here as the only person to not play Age of Sigmar yet. How key is a battle tactic to your turn?
It's like the akin to a secondary.
Okay.
So it's like you're losing out on like 10 points or whatever by doing it. But if you just table your opponent, then it doesn't matter.
Speaking of tabling the opponent, though, how do you feel about the, person who deploys his army first thing?
The first player to set up the army chooses turn order. Yeah, so it's not like 40k though. So it's almost like you deploy an entire detachment at one time. I mean, I don't know exactly how it's going to work in 4th ed, but basically like some detachments are 1 drop, which means you put them all down at the same time. Other ones you do unit by unit and stuff like that. So it's very possible to have an entire 2,000 point army that you put down all at once and say, oh, my army's down. Whereas other times you can do like, I can have 10 drops because I have 10 units and I built them in this order to do it this way. So it gives you the option to build for that.
It'll be interesting. I mean, we don't have a ton of info, just some really high-level previews they've shown. From the basis of it, we'll probably be getting more daily through the next number of weeks, I assume. Same way they drip-fed the Leviathan info, 10th edition.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what's going to happen. But I'm excited. I want to play more Age of Sigmar, and I'm only saying that now because Will's not on the podcast to try to force me to play it. Because right now I really want to work on like 40k and play that because I'm having a lot of fun with that. But I wouldn't mind playing like an Age of Sigmar game once every like 2 months or 2 or 3 months, occasionally. The issue is like switching up my game system, painting different guys, and then also like learning a new game mechanics was like kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to play more than that personally because I like Sigmar. I'm really curious what the rule set's going to be, though. What changes they're going to make, like with the modular rules. I mean, the core rules for just a quick game, which actually leads me to another topic, the whole Spearhead, being that it's going to be Age of Sigmar's combat patrol, basically. Spearhead will also be what's in the launch box, so you'll get a Spearhead Force of Skaven and Fantasy Marines Stormcast. So technically, that's supposed to be quicker games, kind of using just the core rules. I don't know if it's going to use all the advanced rules they have listed here, all these modules. Yeah, see, Spearhead's just core, so.
Wow, so they're going to have a lot of different ways to play. Path to Glory is their Crusade rule. I forgot. I thought the General's Handbook was match play, so.
General's Handbook is match play, but I mean, I think the match play is more just playing with your buddies and stuff. You don't need the season rules for that, which is the General's Handbook. Because, I mean, that's all the General's Handbook gives you are the seasonal rules to play for the, tournaments, which is kind of what that should be listed as. So I'm curious to see what comes in the next, few weeks. I definitely want to see some of the new models. I'm looking forward to those reveals whenever that may actually happen, especially all the new Skaven models. That'll be fun. No more derpy little rats. Now there'll be new plastic derpy little rats. Sigmar has the best models. You're a modeler who works for GW and you're really tired of making Space Marines and you want to go one-off and just make something weird and wacky, you go to the Sigmar team and you make Sigmar models because they're just great. I mean, look at the Endless Spell. Look at this, it's a Lumineth guy. I can't remember the name, but I mean, just such good models. And the paint job on this bone is actually really, really nice. But yeah, I'm excited. I plan to play more Sigmar. I would like to actually do a Sigmar tournament at some point with one of the 3 armies I have. Be cool. Mason, do you know how many gym events there are for Sigmar? I see him ping for the folks not on the East Coast.
I know I have seen them, and I know that Will would straight up flip out if he had the opportunity to have one here, but I don't know if we have enough crowd to like consistently have them. I know there's a couple people who they'll occasionally play at Warhammer Fridays, and then obviously I play, you play, Will plays, so we probably could get like 8 to 10 people. I would be interested in hitting the ground running with 4th Ed when it drops.
Yeah, I plan to run games, and I plan to use TTS for a lot of that, because I have a lot of those models in TTS for games.
Yeah, I mean, let's schedule a game whenever we find out more about it, because I played Warcry a couple months ago, but I haven't played Age of Sigmar proper, and I don't think I've played it since 10th came out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think the last game we played was right before 10th came out.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even, it was a real game, but it wasn't a real game. It was 2-on-2 with 1,000 points, and me with Nick Ash. I don't consider that a real game.
When 800 of your points is in one guy.
I was 900 at that point.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Yeah, he was my army.
Yeah, you had couple horsies and just big old wizard.
Yeah, but I was over points, but it was just us. Nobody cared. But yeah, it was Nagash is huge, but yeah, OBR is one of the armies. Seraphon, as y'all know, is another army, and then cities. And I have, 2,900 points of cities now, roughly, with Talia.
We can get a little bit of TTS events going on, too. That way Alex can test out a Seraphon.
I'd be down.
That's the plan with getting TTS going in the gym Discord, because I do want to get some events run. But it's probably, I want to start planning that kind of stuff after Richmond, because I really got to paint some crap this month.
Yeah, once that post-event grind is done, we can look into doing that for sure.
But otherwise, I think that's probably a good place to wrap. We're looking forward to Age of Sigmar and changes this coming month, as this podcast will be out in the first couple of days of April probably, and I don't know, we'll see what comes, I guess.
Yeah, if you have a topic you want us to talk about, specifically in reference to one of the things we talked about here to expand upon, or another topic you want us to cover, email us at
openplaypodcast@gmail.com.
I would have gotten it right had I just went with my gut, but I wasn't sure. All right, thanks for listening. Drop us a review on whatever podcasting app you're listening on right now, and until then, may all your dice be 6s. Have a good one.
See ya.